जिनके ख्वाब बड़े होते हैं, बल्कि मंजिलें उन्हें मिलती हैं जो जिद पर अड़े होते हैं। दैनिक भास्कर समूह की ओर से आप सभी देवियों सज्जनों का स्वागत, अभिनंदन, आभार। माय एफएम से मैं हूं आरजे कार्तिक आपके साथ और एक बार फिर से स्वागत करता हूं दैनिक भास्कर डबल कीर्तिमान समारोह में। दैनिक भास्कर समूह को आप पाठकों ने जो भरपूर प्यार दिया है, उसी की वजह से आज दैनिक भास्कर समूह भारत का सबसे बड़ा न्यूज़पेपर ग्रुप है। दैनिक भास्कर 12 राज्यों 65 संस्करणों के साथ 3 भाषाओं हिंदी, गुजराती और मराठी में आप तक पहुंच रहा है। दैनिक भास्कर डबल कीर्तिमान के साथ राजस्थान में सबसे ज्यादा पढ़ा जाने वाला अखबार है। हमारे करोड़ों पाठकों का विश्वास हमारे साथ है और हम इसके लिए आपके तहे दिल से आभारी हैं। इस कोरोना काल में जिंदगी का उत्साह और उमंग बनाए रखने और उसे बढ़ाए रखने के लिए हम सब लगातार कोशिश कर रहे हैं। यकीन मानिए कि अगर उम्मीद का उजाला है तो कोरोना काल में भी जिंदगी चमकदार होगी। इसी उम्मीद और हौसले का उजाला कायम रखते हुए राजस्थान में डबल कीर्तिमान स्थापित करने पर दैनिक भास्कर इस बार 4 महीने सितंबर से दिसंबर तक देश का पहला और सबसे लंबा ऑनलाइन डबल कीर्तिमान समारोह आयोजित कर रहा है। इसी समारोह में दोस्तों आज हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन बायजू लर्निंग ऐप के फाउंडर मिस्टर बायजू रविंद्रन। वेरी वार्म वेलकम सर, जो आज हमारे साथ शेयर करेंगे अपनी सक्सेस स्टोरी की, कैसे एक टीचर के पैशन से शुरू हुई ऑनलाइन स्टार्टअप की कहानी जो अब बन गई है दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी एजुकेशन ऐप। और साथ ही समारोह में हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं द क्विंट के एडिटोरियल डायरेक्टर संजय पुगलिया जी। सर आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, वेरी वार्म वेलकम। और दैनिक भास्कर समूह के डायरेक्टर गिरीश अग्रवाल जी, सर आपका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत, अभिनंदन। इससे पहले कि इस सेशन की शुरुआत हो, हमारे समारोह की शुरुआत करने के लिए मैं आमंत्रित करना चाह रहा हूँ दैनिक भास्कर समूह के डायरेक्टर गिरीश अग्रवाल जी।
नमस्कार, आप सबको मेरा बहुत बहुत नमस्कार और स्वागत है आपका। मिस्टर बैजू रविंद्रन, आपका बहुत बहुत वेलकम, स्वागत। संजय जी, एक बार आपका दोबारा से स्वागत। सभी पाठकों को जो हमारे साथ राजस्थान और देश भर से जुड़े हैं, उनका बहुत बहुत वेलकम। और मैं दोबारा ये बताना चाहूँगा कि ये जो हम डबल कीर्तिमान मना रहे हैं, समारोह मना रहे हैं, ये राजस्थान का एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान है भास्कर की सक्सेस जर्नी में। उसी को सेलिब्रेट करने के लिए हम ये कीर्तिमान मना रहे हैं, उत्सव मना रहे हैं। अब हम शुरुआत करेंगे हमारे आज के अतिथि मिस्टर बैजू रविंद्रन से डिस्कशन की। मिस्टर बैजू थोड़ा हिंदी में कम बोलते हैं, तो हम उनसे इंग्लिश में बात करेंगे और बीच बीच में आपसे हम हिंदी में बात करते रहेंगे। So may I first of all start to request you to start explaining us my viewers that what Byju stand for. What is your motto, Mr. Byju Raveendran?
So it's a very simple thing. I am someone who comes from a very small village. I'm not telling this to dramatize the story, but most of the challenges which I've seen firsthand when I was growing up in my small village north of Kerala, whether it's access to teachers, whether it's a format driven by fear of exams, like it's still I'm trying to like convey the message to students that the best way to learn is by bringing that love for learning back, and instead of learning driven by fear of exams, I'm trying to replace that with learning driven by love for learning. By doing that, we can create active learners, continuous learners, or in a broader word, like lifelong learners, and that's the requirement of the future. So it's a very very small attempt. There's a long way to go before I will call it a success. It's only relative success, though you address the company as one of the largest education technology companies in the world. It's just relative success. Just because others have not done it, we can't say it's successful, because
that's been very modest of you. So as you mentioned that you come from a small village from Kerala, your parents were teachers themselves, and then when you were working as an engineer abroad, you had actually helped one of your friends for CAT, and while doing so, you yourself got it selected in CAT almost twice with 100 percentile. So why didn't you choose to go for IIM and become a management student rather than doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, no, for me, it's always been following my passion around learning math, because I've been a self-learner throughout. So it's not that what I'm trying to propagate today, positively propagate, is something which I've always used by learning, by doing it, learning myself first, and then teaching others, so that when you start teaching others, you'll start learning better. So I always used to teach, not just when I was doing it after engineering, but from my school days, I used to teach kids in the village. And then I used to teach in school, I used to teach in college. And then that just continued. So during a vacation, I was teaching some of my friends, not just one. A few of my friends in preparing for CAT. Along with them, I just took the exam. My idea was never to do an MBA. I was always very clear in terms of what I wanted to do. So didn't join IIMs, but told my dad that I will, because it became so big in such a short span of time. It was never planned. So it's a clear case scenario of passion intersecting with the real need. And I normally tell that, like, I'm an engineer by chance, which most of us are. Those, if you are good in math and south of India, that's your default option, fortunately or unfortunately. Teacher by choice, which made me an entrepreneur by chance. So I took a break from my job outside India, which was a well-paying job, and I just had to tell this to dad that I'll do this for 6 months. If it works, I will continue doing it. Otherwise, I'll go back.
Yeah, actually, that brought me to my second question. That you were doing well abroad, and then in 2006 you came back to India, start teaching. So I think that's correlated with that, the thing what you just mentioned.
Yeah, no, it's so I was working there till 2003, and then formally, again, I went back to work for another 18 months. So formally it started in 2006, but end of 2005 onwards, it's scaled to an extent where I knew that this is my calling, and continued scaling in that pursuit of how to make it bigger, but most importantly, how to make it better from a student's perspective. So
before I request Mr. Sanjay Pugalia to ask you the next question, I'll ask one more and then he'll take it up. The parents in India, at least in India, I know, are obsessed with this format of structured offline education. Go to school at 7:30, come back at 2 o'clock, do your homework, do this and all that and all that. So how did Byju help change this perception and comfort with the tech-based model and independent learning?
Yeah, so I won't say we changed. We are trying to change. Is the best I can say, because it's still a very small percentage of the students, those who are learning on their own. Now, during the current period, where the only format of learning, since it's online learning, there are a lot more students learning from the app. But for us, the challenge always was, and still is, convincing parents that exactly like how small kids learn before they join in school, and how all of us learn once we come out of universities, which is curiosity driven learning, right? Somewhere in between, once we spend 4-5 years in our school system, we lose that curiosity, right? So we are trying to bring that curiosity back in the system. How we have done that is, or how we are trying to do it, is by finding that right balance between keeping it engaging. So education technology company is not the right way to describe what we are trying to do. It's an education media technology company. So by finding this balance between engagement without losing effectiveness, because at the end of the day, it's all about whether the students are understanding the concepts, whether they are not just whether they are liking the concept, right? So we've been able to do a fairly good job of keeping enough amount of chocolate coating before we take them through the broccoli. Is how normally explain this. It's a big challenge. It's not easy at all. That's why it takes a lot of time to get it right. We have done a fairly good job of getting it right. I'll never say this is the best we can do. There is still a lot of scope for improvement. But as long as you continue in this mission of trying to create active learners in India, and to some extent we'll soon start doing it outside India. And if you have that long-term aspiration, and if you are stubborn with what you want to achieve long-term, obviously you also need to get it right when it comes to what you do today and what you do this quarter. I'm sure you will you can be relevant even after a decade, and that's what obviously what differentiates great companies from good companies are the ones they will survive for decades and not just for years, right? And all the big brands are built like that. So at least that's the aspiration. I'll say we are on the right path, but a lot to be done.
Sanjay ji, over to you.
Yeah, thanks Girish ji, and it's a great pleasure to have an opportunity to talk to you, Byju. Before I ask my question, may I know you understand Hindi a bit, conversational English kind of Hindi?
I understand Hindi completely.
Excellent.
Please don't make me speak, because it's something which I'll struggle and I don't want to.
No, totally I understand.
But I completely understand, because I've learned. So just to give you, so this shows two sides of our education system. I used to learn math the way it's supposed to be learned, and I used to learn Hindi just for exams. I used to do, okay. I scored very high in Hindi, 98, 97 out of 100, 98 out of 100 in 9th and 10th. But
so you know what?
It's tough for me to speak.
You know what? It's going to happen tonight. when you complete this conversation, you will start thinking that you should start talking in Hindi also on formal platforms. I know people are a bit not sure about how articulate I will sound. So you will get there. You will be very inspired tonight. I can guarantee you that. Because I have some sense that you speak quite decent Hindi.
No, I have not spoken. I have learned Hindi only for exams. I have not been able to.
Okay. So the way, what I'm trying to do is that I speak a bit of a Hindi also, so that our viewers also get the sense and they also enjoy.
Maybe you can help them understand also. I'll understand your question. You can ask the question in Hindi also. I have
excellent. So they will feel more engaged.
Yes.
And so basically what Girish ji ने आज जो किया वो ये है कि personality of Byju से शुरू किया, फिर चले गए हैं वो education के business और possibilities पर. तो हम लोग कोशिश करते हैं कि पहले education का हिस्सा पूरा करें, लेकिन इनकी पर्सनालिटी पर एक बार हमको वापस जाना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि लर्निंग वहां पर है कि कोई एक छोटा सा बिजनेस गांव से आके शुरू करके कितना बड़ा काम कर सकता है, और सैकड़ों हजारों ऐसे एस्पायरिंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हमको वॉच करते हैं जो ये सीखना चाहते हैं. तो इन अ वे बैजू का हम मास्टर क्लास के तौर पर भी पूरा इस्तेमाल करेंगे. बैजू, आपसे ये समझना है कि जैसे ही पैंडेमिक आया तो एक बूस्ट मिल गया, जो शायद आपने अपने लिए प्रोजेक्शन किया होगा 5 साल 10 साल में अचीव करने के लिए, एक ग्रेट इन्फ्लेक्शन पॉइंट हो गया आप लोगों के लिए. लेकिन जैसे जैसे अनलॉक हो रही है चीजें, लोग स्कूल में वापस जाना शुरू कर रहे हैं, तो आप जैसे बिजनेस पे क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, लेकिन मोर इंपॉर्टेंटली इस लर्निंग से क्या हम एक हाइब्रिड मॉडल बना सकते हैं कि फिजिकल क्लासरूम और वर्चुअल क्लासरूम का एक मिक्स हो, यानी कि ऑफलाइन स्कूल्स बोले कि हाँ हमको इतना ऑनलाइन कर लेना है, और ऑनलाइन भी अपना एक ऑफलाइन फेस रख सकें. पॉसिबल है क्या?
At least that's a hope. I hope that on the other side of the crisis, now that teachers, students, all stakeholders are realizing that there are some things which can be done better online. Now, it's not that it can never replace the traditional school system, right? Because school is not just about math and science learning, or school is not about subjects learning, right? All of us remember very fondly the time which we used to spend on what I call the corridor time, as well as the playground time. And so like for kids to develop as like holistically, it's very important for them to learn these social skills, life skills, by being in a group, right? And there is no replacement or there is no substitute for that. What is good about online learning is there are subjects, especially some of these hard subjects like math, science subjects, like to some extent coding. All these things can be like taught or learned better online. Now, an ideal system is, and that I'm very optimistic that over like what would have taken maybe another 10 years, like we'll see reaching there in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Now, it's not that all of them will, like a lot of them will directly go back to 100% offline, but I hope that you will see a bright start in terms of some of the teachers continuing to do some part of what they do online, remaining and offline. So how do we find that blend of the best of online and offline? Obviously, it has to evolve because nobody will know what exactly is that format. But I'm sure this like unfortunately took a crisis for a lot of people to even try out online learning, because it's not that online learning is just started a few years back. It's been there for many years, but a lot of them were not even willing to try it out, right? And there are some teachers who are like putting a lot of effort and adapting to this model, and there are obviously some teachers who are not who are just, or institutions who are just looking at this as a crisis management tool and just saying, okay, let's get over this phase somehow and let's run back to the offline system. But I think there is an opportunity to change our classrooms. It's happening for the first time in the last 100 years that our classrooms are changing. Let's hope that we will start seeing a better intervention of technology in the way students learn and teachers teach, how institutions bring courses online. So opportunity is there everywhere. There is promise, but let's see how much of it is what we see on the other side of the crisis.
Yeah. So Byju, as you just mentioned that the school experiences cannot be taken away, correct?
Yes.
So should I take it as a sigh of relief for the schools that Byju will not getting into delivering classes offline and holding tests and kind of, replacing schools?
It's like there is never, like we've always been very complimentary to what the teachers do in a classroom, because it's a a learning app is for students to learn at home. In a way, what we are trying to do is instead of just learn by listening in a classroom, because most of our classrooms like unfortunately are not interactive, because when there are 30, 35, 40 students, you can't blame the teachers, right? They don't have enough time to keep it interactive where the classes progress through discussions, right? So it's literally one-way traffic. Now, from that learn by listening or learn by reading, which is only from books. Now, books are also important. I'm not telling that, by no means I'm telling that's not important, but we have not capitalized on the possibilities which is available there, whether in terms of using tools, like whether it's technology or the media formats, these movie-like videos, game-like interactions, which you have been creating, that actually creates where they can also learn by seeing, right? Because we remember visual learning is a lot more powerful, right? For understanding concepts as well as for retaining those concepts. So learn by seeing and learn by playing if it's younger kids, and learn by doing wherever possible, right? There are subjects where you can learn by doing it. So we are in a way elevating the number of formats available to students. Now, all of us learn in different ways. Some of us will learn best if it's shown through a diagram. Some of us will learn best if it's shown through a context. Now, when I say context, something which they can relate to in terms of what's happening in real life. Now, we have to obviously do it within the boundaries defined by the curriculum. Then only it will be complementary. Otherwise, it will be more load on students. So it's always been complementary in a way. Like school provides this regularity of sessions or the discipline which comes with that schedule. And when they learn at home, there is scope to personalize. The best part about online learning is that because you have all the data in terms of how they have been learning, what they learn, when they learn, how much they learn. By tracking that, we can always make it more and more personalized. So that's the biggest opportunity. It's not just about solving the problems around access. It's you can actually make it more efficient for students when they learn at home. Now, if you are expecting students to learn on their own when they learn at home, it's very important to create something which is appealing for them. Like that's where I was using that, finding those right formats, these movie-like videos, game-like interactions, keep it very interactive, because it's like contrary to what some people think, because if it's not like YouTube where there is a library of videos. It's like every 3-4 minutes, we make sure that they interact with the screen, and those inputs are important for us to personalize the next lesson. So that's where we have been investing a lot of time, effort, and like large number of passionate people working towards it. We are doing this at the intersection of, as I mentioned, content, media, and technology. So
yeah. As you just explained, content, media, and technology, you have made it very interesting. You have made it engaging. So the intimidation to a kid is kind of eliminated. What I want to understand from you, because I believe that there are opportunities for both offline, online play. But currently, for a short-term perspective, I'm asking, think of a school operator or a school owner or school administration. In the short term, they are facing the problem of lockdown, unlockdown. You don't know what time infection curve will move, what direction. What will you advise them? Because you know what, physical interface is important for kids' emotional growth. It is important to make him social. It is important. Sports का center is school. वहीं से शुरू होता है कि you will go for this play or that play. Physical fitness के लिए वो भी जरूरी है. तो मेरा सवाल ये है बैजू आपसे कि इस वक्त स्कूल स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं कि हम चल पाएंगे कि नहीं चल पाएंगे, उनको फीस मिल रही है कि नहीं मिल रही है, और उनको सरवाइव करना है, और आप खुद अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हैं इस बात को कि एक्चुअली फिजिकल पढ़ाई और फिजिकल एंगेजमेंट की भी जरूरत है. तो अभी इस वक्त जो चल रहा है, जैसे आपके बिजनेस को बूस्ट मिला, स्कूल इस वक्त प्रेशर में है, when do you think they will recover and get back to a normal?
Yeah, when is something which I'm sure I cannot answer, because it's like I'm sure nobody can answer right now, because even if schools are willing to reopen, governments try reopening schools, I'm not very sure Indian parents, being Indian parents, will they, and they're generally a lot more paranoid than most of the other parents. I don't think they will send their kids to schools anytime soon. So at least, unfortunately, I think there will be some amount of learning loss for I won't say a good percentage of the students, but still possibly like 30 to 50% of the students, because it's not that even though you are talking about online learning, there is this, like what I read in most of the places is that the 30% of the students, those who are not having even access to a screen, right? Even if schools are trying their best to do this online, they might not have access to a screen. So they will have to do some catch up on the other side of the crisis, maybe by doing extra hours next year, or maybe by starting school, the academic season, maybe 2 months in advance, adjusting a little bit of summer holidays. But this digital divide, which everybody is talking about, do exist, right? It's not, there is no short-term solution to it. Now,
Yeah.
if to what I have to, obviously schools are here to stay. Now, whether somehow like maybe a few more months, right? That optimistically, if you think about it, few more months, if it continues like this, it's not that there is no learning happening, but there's some amount of online learning is happening, and because since it's continued for many months, a lot of teachers have started getting used to teaching online, and they are trying their best, right? There are teachers going all of like, because most of the teachers have will try everything possible to make sure that students learn something. Now, it's never to replace what they could have done inside schools, right? Now, so this now, like since I was talking about digital divide, one more point which I want to call it out is, though today everybody is talking about digital divide. Now, what about those who are not having access to a screen? I brought that point up already. But the physical divide which exists, the inequities which exist in our physical system, right? In our physical world of education is a lot more glaring. Now, you can't solve that by building more schools and getting more teachers into our classrooms. Because compared to 20 years back, or 20, 25 years back, when we were in school, when I was in school, the situation has actually worsened. And there's a reason for that. It's like not many people realize it, because today, it's difficult to find good graduates staying back in small towns, right? They're all with the kind of urbanization which has happened over the last few years. And there are a lot more better paying job options available in many sectors, because of which the quality of the teachers available in small towns has actually gone down, right? This very suboptimal teacher-student ratio of around 1:35, it's tough to improve and combined with the fact that there are a lot more kids in schools today, right? And less teachers. So quality, it's not just finding good teachers is a challenge, but sometimes finding teachers itself is a challenge. So the only way you can solve this at scale, this big challenge around access, efficiency, and personalization, these are the three big challenges, is only when we can use technology as a strong enabler. Now, technology is not the end of it. It can be used as a strong enabler. Now, what we are trying to do is also, like, at least those who are having access to a screen, they can, if they want, they can actually learn.
Very important point. So before I go to Girishji, I have a supplementary question coming out of this. You very rightly said, and that is very insightful for every stakeholder and policymakers, the digital divide and the access. So one immediate issue is connectivity. India has got connected and online schools are running. We are happy in cities. What about rural India? So digital connectivity is one issue. Regulation is second issue. And the third issue, as I advocate for EdTech, at the same time, physical schools also have to adopt to these new things. In terms of digital have-nots, you spoke about screen नहीं है, मोबाइल नहीं है लोगों के पास, स्मार्टफोन नहीं है, प्रिंटर नहीं है और कुछ फिजिकल कागज आपको भेजना है तो कैसे भेजेंगे? तो इसके लिए, what do you think in immediate terms as a priority? Because all we are saying that post-pandemic, education and health are two big sunrise sector for India. So for entire Bharat, what needs to be done?
Yeah, this bottom 1/3 of the students, unfortunately, those who are not having access to a screen. When I say free screen, those who are not having access to a smartphone, right? I think sooner than later, more and more students will get access to a screen, because the rate at which the mobile phone penetration and the internet penetration is growing in India, with geo scaling very fast and nicely. But the challenge is going to be in terms of how do we get more teachers into our classrooms, right? That's the biggest challenge. And that too, this might not be a big challenge in cities, but in small towns and villages, it has actually become a bigger challenge than a few years back, right? Because there are so many for graduates, there are so many other job options, and they move to cities. So if we make sure that schools are connected, and if we can make sure that there's a way we can make the same content accessible through schools, right? Now, by reaching out to all students, it will take a lot more years to solve, right? But by connecting schools, and this is very cost effective, right? It's not just that you can solve it faster, it's more efficient. And obviously there is push for digital education, but maybe over the next.
Byju, sorry to interrupt here. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to portray a picture what you're trying to say is. So for example, there are some 10,000 schools in the smaller town than the rural cities, rural villages in India. And they have a maths class happening at say 10:30 in the morning. That 1 hour, rather than an individual teacher trying to teach those 30 kids, there is a screen which connects to these 10,000 schools, and one teacher sitting somewhere is teaching to those 10,000 through entire animation and whatever process. Is that what you are envisaging?
That's the easiest way to solve this challenge. It's easier said than done, because first, some of these schools are the ones where there might not be even electricity. So obviously, assuming that will get solved first, then because if you like, it will be impossible to find enough teachers to be in those villages but you'll be able to find facilitators who can be in the classroom, right? Maybe the challenge will be like some of the teachers, those who are in those schools, they might not. How do we get them along? How do we make sure that they also play an active role in running these sessions, so that students learn from the teachers by connecting these thousands of classrooms, and the facilitator or the mentor who's in the classroom, they play the role of like a guide and a mentor, and supporting students as and when it's required, right? This is like theoretically, this is how you need to solve it, right? But it's the last mile, solving it last mile. Who's going to take the initiative here? There is a lot of investment happening in the in schools, and there are a lot of smart boards and classrooms. But how do we make sure that, how do we incentivize teachers to use this? How do we make sure that this actually gets executed on the ground? Is obviously, if you're like, frankly speaking, I don't know how and when it will get solved, right? So the investment getting, like how much we spend on education, I'm sure it will only take a fraction of it to solve it using this approach, right?
I remember once you were mentioning to somebody that you did a maths concert, with some 25,000 people in New Delhi in a stadium, and you were teaching to them, and you said, no, I'm not teaching. It was like a concert for you. It was like a maths concert because students were enjoying and you were enjoying, teaching them. So is that kind of format going forward? You think that's going to be feasible again and again?
Today it's not required. In fact, even that format is not that efficient, because the advantage of
I'm saying rather than offline, online.
Yes, that format online is the way, that way at least we can make sure that if not all the students like the aspirational, those who are we can create some interest in the students in the subject, and it will actually become easy for the teacher in the classroom to like support the students as and when it's necessary. Because otherwise, how do you find these many teachers who can teach concepts at a certain level, right? So yeah, those large scale like webinar kind of formats, like one to like thousands of one teacher to thousands of students, and supported by teachers or mentors in the classroom, right, is the way to like that's only, I believe that's the only way we can solve this challenge at scale. Again, no, if not completely, at least partially.
Kiriti, और आप ले question?
Yeah. No, I was saying that what happened there's a fear factor among students in school about the attendance, about how do you perform in front of your teacher also. While Byju is not very particular about attendance, correct? And the whole fear of performing in front of your teacher is totally out, So that's a big advantage for Byju. And how do you take that?
Yeah. So in a way, like those who are learning from our platform are the ones where, like, slowly but surely they are becoming active learners, right? Because there is no one forcing them or pushing them to learn. Now, it's not that it'll take a lot more time for more and more students to become like this, because we believe about push-based learning, spoon feeding, where we all know that things which we like, and then when we try learning on our own, that's the best way to learn, right? So how do we make sure that students take the initiative in learning, and teachers actually play a supporting role, right? It's easier said than done. Again, it's like these are like ideal concepts, but today's kids, if you take a look at it, right, like because of access to internet and how kids are learning English today, right? Like most of us, I've learned English by listening to sports commentary on radio, both. In fact, that's how I've learned Hindi and English. I've learned by listening to sports commentary, cricket commentary specifically. And maybe I still try my best to speak slowly, but I learned by listening to people who speak very fast, because radio commentary is normally much faster than TV commentary, like what we see today, right? So today kids are learning and like my son speaks much better English than what I speak. I still speak average English. Same thing is with my driver's daughter also speaks the same kind of English. So it's actually like leveling the playing field, right? Internet is actually leveling the playing field. They are learning English from YouTube. So YouTube possibly is the first teacher today. Like obviously there is always challenge around how do you find the right content, because there is like a lot of content available. How do you give them but till they join school, YouTube is where kids learn most of the, at least language and the basic numeracy skills they learn from YouTube, right? So that's why I strongly believe the power of this medium, especially for the next generation, those who are digital natives, where spending time on a screen and hopefully very soon learning from a screen will actually become a primary habit. And by doing that, we are actually moving them away from this fear-based learning to curiosity-based learning. And that's where it's like this, right? Something which, like if you actually watch an interesting movie, the story of that movie students will remember for a much longer time than maybe something which they were just listening in a classroom, right? So the visual learning is, though everybody understands it's very powerful, it's been difficult to implement that inside classrooms, right? Because it's not easy to change the way teachers teach, though it's easy to change the way students learn. That's why, and next generation you will find it even easier, right? Because they're very comfortable spending time on a screen. We only need to kind of moderate that screen time to make sure that, and we need to also make sure that they have productive screen time. That's our attempt, rather than just them being getting lost in user generated content, which some of them will be good content and some of them won't be. We are giving them not just content created by us, but in a form, through a platform which personalizes based on pace of learning, size of learning, and most importantly, even style of learning.
While we were growing up, at least we were told that if you want to remember something, write it again and again. You know, because if you return it multiple times, then this kind of gets described in your mind. While your method of learning is totally different. So how do you compare that with that?
Yeah, so yeah, that's one approach, because like it's not that there are things which, so you need to learn, and there are things which if you practice, you will start doing it faster. But in the learning process, using all the formats, which is not just text-based learning, or not just learn by listening in a classroom, but learn by seeing, right? When you watch videos, obviously images can speak a lot more words, but videos are even more powerful. Now, if you make the videos interactive, where you also make them participate, now that's important, so that that interactivity helps helps the platform understand whether the students are getting the concept or not, right? So it's never about one format. My point which I was trying to make is that using these platforms today, there is an opportunity to give all formats to students. And as I mentioned, since all of us learn in different ways, and if I ask you what kind of a learner you are, I'm sure we might not know. And because it's tough to do, even if you're teaching one-on-one, I cannot personalize, because if I'm teaching a student one-on-one math, I won't know how the student has been learning in the previous years, right? But by using data and by figuring out, okay, this student is weak in algebra, so you can start 2 levels below. That's what the application allows us to do.
Yeah, Byju, you gave another very interesting idea about the issues around the lack of good teachers and the adequate number of teachers. This problem is going to linger, because now more people will come into the education zone. How to solve that? Can there be a Byju's for teachers?
There can be, obviously this itself, there is so much to be done. The challenge which you are trying to solve itself, it will take many more years. There is an opportunity for someone to create a platform plus content for teachers, especially for the part which they will do online, and something which they can, and a framework for them to teach offline, right? A combination, the blended format, which is actually a new format. And the challenge won't be creating a format, right? Challenge will be, how do we make sure that more and more teachers learn how to adapt to that new format, right? That's the biggest challenge. So there is an opportunity to create, let's say, a Byju's for teachers or like X for teachers. There is an opportunity for someone else to help institutions go online. Today, there are a lot of platforms like this, which is good for meetings,
True.
but not necessarily good for teaching, right?
Yeah.
Because
So now the challenge is about the scale. Like in EdTech, there are other companies, but Byju's is the now most dominant company in terms of mind space. And you are being very modest when you say that it is not important, but you are the biggest global EdTech player currently. Is that right?
Absolutely.
What I was telling is it's only relative success, because you look at all other sectors, there are multiple $100 billion companies in every other sector, and education is such an important sector.
Yeah, so that's what I want to understand from you.
Yeah.
Okay, there is one big Byju's emerging, and it can still do 10x stuff going forward. But is there enough space for other EdTech players? There are various different models and problems to be solved. So is there enough space available in India?
I can tell you right now itself, in case if there are entrepreneurs listening to this, I can, like, as I just mentioned, there can be a platform and which can be created for teachers, define and which will help them to follow blended learning, and that will help teachers to become a lot more efficient, because what they do inside the classroom will become efficient, and they can also give like support teachers when they learn at home, right? So a platform for teachers, and I'm not just talking about a platform plus content, because what we have done for students is it's not a platform alone, right? It's platform plus content together created. That's why we are able to personalize it like very efficiently. Now, something for teachers, there is a big opportunity. Something with schools, there is a big opportunity, because today's platforms, which these kind of meeting platforms which the teachers use, it's not easy for teachers to like, most of them are still struggling to like curate content. They depend on like multiple platforms, and they don't know how to bring that into a classroom. It's not easy, because like, in fact, teachers, you have to simplify it further, right? Because students, they know how to use, they will learn how to use all these new formats very fast, right? So teachers, you have to simplify that. So there's opportunity around the both, like something for teachers, something for schools and institutions. And there is also a huge opportunity around reskilling, upskilling, right? Because we are focused on mainly co-curricular learning. If you are like math, science, language learning, these are all foundational skills. Coding is an important future skill, but there are so many other business models, and the promise or opportunity for business models is, if you ask me, what we have created is one model. There's also an opportunity for creating a model which can bring millions of teachers, because this is actually an opportunity, right? Lot of others, those who have never become teachers. Now, teaching is a very satisfying job, right? But around all the like special skills or the niche skills, right? If you want to find someone who will teach piano, right? Maybe you might not, for a teacher, like he or she might not find enough students in the vicinity in the physical world. But today they can just go online and start teaching. But the challenge is like a platform like this, Zoom is not enough, right? You can also build tools which will help them to teach this. So it's a big opportunity for, if you ask me, golden age of teachers is going to come back to a large extent, right?
Girish.
So this also kind of, puts me on thinking that about the school format. So what happens in the school, you have a classroom, which is a brick and mortar, and you have teachers. Teachers teach directly. Now what you are suggesting, that there could be an opportunity where there could be another team who's about curating the content. So teacher has the content and there are students, but there's a tech team or any other team who's able to curate the content and then present it to the students offline, online, whatever. I think that's another opportunity I see.
Correct, but schools are here to stay, as I mentioned, like in terms of it's all the important life skills, right? Like you can't teach, you can teach maths to someone online, but you can't teach empathy, right? You can't teach those like even more important. That's why I always tell that what you learn inside a classroom is important. What you learn outside classroom is a lot more important. So if you ask me, I have capitalized on my love for math, learning math, teaching math. and I've also capitalized on my love for games, and that's where I've learned. If you ask me, like the company's foundation or the way we think is based on all those life skills: how to lead a team, how to play in a team, how to have that killer instinct, how to perform under pressure. All these are some, like, every life skill, like, you can learn, like, or most of the life skill you need to learn outside the classrooms. Like, not just by playing games, that's just one way. There are so many other ways, right? Like everything, like anything you do, if you do with love, you can learn a lot of things, right?
So do you think a national exercise on what to learn, how to learn, and why learn it should be carried out by the government, and the whole school system curriculum need to be reinvented?
I think it's the new education policy, like, at least on paper, is an attempt at redefining the like how, like, what students do or teachers should do in schools. Though hopefully, like, over the next few years, we will improve, and based on the framework and what I've seen in the new education policy, there is a lot of hope.
एक चीज गिरीश जी, थोड़ा हम हिंदी में बात करें अपने दर्शकों के लिए, तो मैं हाईलाइट करना चाहता था। आज मैंने जब इसके लिए सोच रहा था कि क्या बातें करेंगे हम, तो मैंने रियलाइज किया कि बैजूस में प्रोडक्ट क्या है। प्रोडक्ट है एक टीचर। कंपनी का नाम उस टीचर के नाम पर है। मुझे कोई दूसरा प्रोडक्ट याद नहीं आ रहा है इमीडिएट टर्म में, भारत में और ग्लोबली, जो किसी इंडिविजुअल के नाम पर हो। तो बैजूस को आप बैजू रविंद्रन को आप एक टीचर के रूप में देख रहे हैं, जो बहुत अच्छा टीचर है, कमाल की एनर्जी है, कमाल का आर्टिकुलेशन है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, वो एंटरप्रेन्योर है और टेक्नोलॉजी को जानता है। तीसरी चीज है कि बहुत ही बढ़िया सेल्समैन है। चौथी चीज है कि बहुत ही तगड़ा, लोगों को पता न चले उसके पहले बड़े भारी पैमाने पर उसने फंड रेज किया है। यानी 1 मैन आर्मी है। किसी भी बड़े ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में 5, 10, 20 लोग लगते हैं ना इस काम को करने के लिए। सवाल पूछने का ऑब्जेक्टिव है बैजू मेरा, वो ये है कि जो छोटे एंटरप्रेन्योर शुरू करते हैं, स्टार्टअप शुरू करते हैं, सब काम उनको अपना करना पड़ता है। एचआर भी आउटसोर्स करते हैं, फाइनेंस का भी कंसल्टेंसी के लिए आउटसोर्सिंग करते हैं, 2-4 लोग मिलकर के चलाते हैं। तो at one level I can argue that you are 1 man army. So tell me, because you are now large company, tell me about your management bandwidth. On the other hand, what I'm trying to underline, besides McDonald's, I actually can't recollect any product where the man and the individual is the every aspect of the business.
Okay, it's a complete, I'll say, misconception. Yeah, I started kind of alone, like, at least for the initial many years when I was teaching in those stadiums. It's like initial years I was doing it alone with very minimal support. But from 2011 onwards, when we started creating this online content, generally itself, founders get a lot more credit for what they do. In our case, I get that even more because my name is there on the brand. Like, to be very frank, I have a very solid team, which organically built in the initial years, and in the later years, especially in the last 3-4 years, a lot of them came through these acquisitions and lateral hiring. One thing which I'm very proud about is the fact that most of the people who started with me, close to in more than 75% of the first 300-member team, they came from my student base. So it was kind of easy to get them aligned to this long-term thinking and vision. The first 8 people who started the company along with me, all of them were students, and most of them are still there. Is a big validation that I'm not telling that we have not made mistakes. Like, when you are growing like this, everybody will make their fair share of mistakes, but we have been able to keep those failures very small. And when we figure out a way to, when we see a path towards scaling, we scale it very fast. So because I've been their teacher, and maybe none of them have got the kind of credit which they deserve. And there is a stellar team of, it's not the same team, and it's never about the same set of people who will get you from 0 to 1. They won't get you from 1 to 10 or 10 to 100. So we have been able to integrate along the way a lot of very aspirational, ambitious entrepreneurs, and that's how I would want to call them. So how do you, like, I've spent a lot of time in building that team, and today also, like, good amount of my time is getting the right people. Now, I will never say that it's never about hiring best of the people. It's about hiring the right people who can fit into the culture of the company. So that's where I'll say we have done a good job in retaining most of those initial players in the team. And by adding over the last few years, it has become easy for us to, because the company is also very aspirational. We have added a lot of people like bright, young, very aspirational. Like a lot of them wouldn't have done anything in the sector before, because it's not easy for us to find people who have scaled in education technology, because there are not many even outside India. And yeah, you will find a few companies in China, but not anything of this scale in the US. It's not there, right? So for us, it's been a organic way of integrating talent, like bringing them on board and growing, like helping them grow along with the company. And in the last few years, we have been able to attract a lot of other like entrepreneurs through these acquisitions also. So, but it's been like they always ask what like, at least investors used to ask, what is the key man risk here? I tell them that I don't do much other than like getting all of them aligned and making sure that they all run in the same direction. Now, it's easy to start a mission-driven company in education, and in this sector, like it's relatively easier to keep it mission-driven, because there are not many sectors where it's like this, right? You do well, you'll end up doing good, or you do good, you'll end up doing well. Now, it's if you have enough people who will have that ownership or founder mentality, it's you can make sure that mistakes never become too big. So
गिरीश जी, मैंने इसलिए ये सवाल पूछा कि ये इनकी कहानी और इनका बयान दोनों जिसको हाईलाइट कर रहा है कि टीचर हिमसेल्फ, दैट वन इंडिविजुअल कैन बी सच अ बिग स्केल बिजनेस. तो इंडिया में टीचर्स को रॉक स्टार बनाने की जरूरत है, और टीचर्स बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस मॉडल अपने आप में हो सकते हैं. बैजू उसका एक एविडेंस है. ये पूरे देश को जानना चाहिए.
बहुत बढ़िया.
But
एक और सवाल है.
I've actually like I was the first teacher, but I've created teachers who are far better than me, and because of which I don't teach anymore. Not because I don't have time. It's because I actually created teachers who are far better than me. So.
Okay, I have another question for you, because you spoke about team, that you have a stellar team. So how do you manage disagreements with your top team managers, your co-founder, if she happens to be your wife?
So yeah, like I'll say, like you can almost call all the first 8, all of them, you can call them co-founders. We don't call them co-founders, but they are like co-founders. So the disagreements is within the team is like everything. Like if the top 15 of us sit together, like I'm like in most of the cases, because here, like, see, we are in a segment where there is no playbook for success. So nobody knows what will actually work, right? Now, the person who is responsible for a certain function, it's that person's call, right? Now, like if objectively, if someone can prove a different point, till that time, we might argue the argument can go for hours. But once we decide that this is the way to go, we all like blindly support that person. So that's why continuity of the relationships actually matters, right? The compounding value of that continuity of relationships. So today we understand that, okay, this is person X strength, this is person Y strength, right? So now a lot of them have changed their core roles, and today is doing something else, because like everybody, all of them won't scale in the first function which they would have started in the company, right? So it's like, and what a lot of companies miss out like after once they become big is that like some of them forget the fact that it's very important to make sure that the people who got you from 0 to 1, they are also important for your journey from 1 to 10. Maybe they have to change the role. They'll have to be the cultural ambassadors in some cases. Because it's like there is a way, like all companies are defined by every company has a soul and a DNA, right? Now, if you try changing that, it's almost like this, right? I relate this to sports, right? You like all football clubs, they have their own way of playing. Now, if you replace all the players and bring a new set of 11 players, they will lose that soul, right? So like all of them have a defined culture. Companies are defined by its culture. So like something which I think we have consciously done this to make sure that like to have continuity at the top, and so because of which there is no insecurity. It's very easy to bring people and bring them at the top, bring them below them. because there's no insecurity in this core team.
Girishji?
You just mentioned about sports, and I've been told that you played some 6 sports while you were growing up, and then further now you play football very passionately. So do you think being a sports person also played a role in your journey?
Yeah, it's been an integral part of I'll say my way of thinking. Like in just one sentence, I'll say that the logic which I've learned from math and the positive attitude which I've learned from those multiple games, right? Every game will teach you something, right? When you play football, you learn how to play in a team. There is, though individuals have a say, but eventually it's about how you play as a team. Now, like there are other games where, like which you play individually, whether it's table tennis, badminton kind of games, that teaches you how to like have that controlled aggression. How do you you learn how to concentrate, right? So things like that. So like if you're playing multiple games, and especially if you're playing those games for fun, there's a lot to learn, right? It's not, but if you are sending your kids to a coaching camp where someone is trying to make them play in based on like a coaching manual, that's not fun, right? And unfortunately, that's what you see nowadays, right? Everything you are like kind of spoon feeding, right? Instead of trying to bring them up with their individual style, right? And so even sports, I see these young kids, like 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, Saturday morning, Sunday morning in, and you know that they are not enjoying, right? Someone is forced.
No kid like the Sunday morning 7:30 a camp on a football or a cricket or whatever.
Yeah, so
you mentioned,
go ahead, Girish.
You mentioned about that you are going to start your business franchisee in the rest of the world also, apart from India. So I would like us to discuss about India, that what are some advantages and disadvantages you see operating in Indian market?
Yeah, see, in this case, I strongly believe in this sector, we have like starting in India is actually a big advantage. Reason being, there is like a large set of, India has maximum number of school going students compared to any other country. So that gives us having a very strong primary segment, or starting in India helps us to learn from, like anything which you launch will be used by hundreds of thousands of students and millions of students in some cases, right? Every grade. So you can learn fast, and before we launch in the new market, you like a large number of students would have already used. I'm not just talking about paid students, right? We have, just to call out a number, we have crossed more than 70 million free users on our platform, and slightly less than 5 million of them are the paying subscribers. So, but the amount of learning which we get, and that helps in a product-based approach, right? In any product, more users you get on the product or on the platform, you improve the product. In services, it's the other way around. Maybe once you scale, you'll start compromising on quality, right? So we are taking a measured approach in terms of markets which we are launching. At least in English-speaking markets, I think we have an edge. And if we get it right in terms of local, like some amount of localization is always required in education. We have to obviously make sure that it's mapped to the curriculums followed in those countries. So we are looking at US is where we'll go deep. Now we are not starting from zero. We have made some good acquisitions and already integrated them well in the US. So this year itself,
is the China model of teaching different from our Indian Byju's model right now?
Our model, which where we have created a product where for as you mentioned, which students use when they learn at home, right? An exactly similar model is not there in China. China, it's mostly, there are platforms which connects teachers and students, and there is these live online classes, like similar to the one which we mentioned, that there can be one teacher and you can connect
yes,
like hundreds of thousands of students, and that one-to-many format, move things similar to what I was doing in stadiums, moving that online. That is the model which is scaling well in China. That model also can scale in India for a certain age group. Now, that one-to-many model won't work for younger kids. Younger kids, it's very important to create this high-quality content which they will like, and that's why, if you ask, we have launched a product with by using Disney characters. We call it Disney Byju's Early Learn. Disney is, if you ask me, Disney is the one which gets the attention of the student. That just that, like as I've already mentioned, that's the chocolate coating before we take them through the the effectiveness part, right? So US and few other English speaking markets is where we are scaling. It's not that we are like, and there is another opportunity, which is also a big one and a promising one, is just like how we have created these like hundreds of thousands of software engineers for the world. I think today there is an opportunity to create teachers for the world, because there is enough talent available in India. And another number which I'm sure you know is like there are only 23% of the women in the workforce, right? Where like more than 50% of them are like among the graduates, there are around 50% of them are women. So this huge gap is something which, even if we move it from, I was reading a report where you move this from 23% to 35-36% itself, the impact on our GDP is going to be like $450 to $500 billion, right? That'll actually move the needle. So there is an opportunity to like tap into this talent pool of these highly talented women who's possibly sitting at home and their talent is getting wasted for multiple reasons, right? Some of them cannot go to a new city and work from there. Some of them, it's difficult for them to re-enter the workforce. That this is the model where you will see us actually creating now on White Hat Junior, which came through an acquisition for us. There are already more than 10,000 teachers now, and out of which almost 7,000 of those teaching jobs are created in the last 3 months alone. So that's and this is very, very meaningful because these are like, we are almost creating these teaching jobs. And the advantage is when we reach 1 million students outside India, we would have also created 70 to 75,000 these high paying teaching jobs for women for teaching from home.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Coming to your point on the White Hat Junior, there has been some information, news about that your little son played a very instrumental role in that acquisition. So could you like to would you explain that to us?
I'm someone who like anything which I do, I'll only do if I have that kind of conviction. So I'm not. You will find a lot of entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley where they will create these apps which is getting the whole and will get the whole world addicted to those apps, but will ban completely for their own kids or their own family, right? For me, you will never. Like, it's not that I don't have time, as I mentioned. I don't teach my son one-on-one, though like he's 6, he's in first grade. It's not that I don't have time. But I strongly believe for conceptual learning. So he learns math from Disney Byju. I'm not doing this for any marketing. I have that much conviction. Only then, like I will take it to the market, right? I'm doing something which I truly believe in or truly passionate about. That's why. So it's not that I do something else at home. So the same thing. So and that's true for Osmo. That's true for White Hat Junior. Both. I got that conviction after seeing. Now this alone is not how we buy companies. That'll be foolish. But if I am convinced that this is how. Now it's not that he's learning coding. Now a lot of people think that okay, it's too early for a 6-year-old why they should learn coding. Coding is a way of thinking. It's not that all of them should become coders, right? Coding helps you to. It's a framework for you to teach active learning, because there is no better subject to practice this learn by doing. They do something, they create something. Instead of consuming, they create. Now, if they like it, and that's another tool to make them active learners. And in fact, a lot more powerful tool than math to create active learners. So, because it fits well into this definition of learn by doing. So I was very impressed with the way, like not just my son, but like most of people in the team, they have kids in this age group. A lot of them at the top level and mid level. So all of them have tried this out, and like it was unanimous actually in terms of conviction around the product offering, in terms of how they brought that live one-on-one coding to students. Again, don't get me wrong. For a 6-year-old,
we understand that you saw the passion, you saw the user using it, and then you said this could be done. Yeah. Thank you. So Sanjay ji, we are now at our last 2 minutes of the talk with Mr. Byju. Would you like to ask him some personal questions which our readers may be also interested?
Yeah, I have 2 quick questions because we are running out of time. So I will place these 2 questions for Byju, and then he can decide how many seconds he needs to answer that. One is, look, now I am unteachable. You can't teach me, and I am not good at sports. Also, you can't train me in sports. But I can benefit out of you if I can buy your stocks. When can I buy that?
So creating like a public company is a big aspiration. To be very honest, I have not thought, because I don't keep secret. I'm very open. To be very honest, I have not thought about an exact timeline. Like if you ask me, like we can go public like anywhere from 24 to 36 months down the line, because business fundamentals are very strong. Like there will be an opportunity to, by the time, like with the current changes happening for direct listing for Indian companies, there will be an opportunity to list in India as well as in US. Because we are an India-based company, contrary to what people think. Because Tencent is an investor.
Since we are a newspaper organization, you just gave us a tomorrow headline. The Byju may go public in 24 to 30 months.
No, I didn't. Maybe you were skipping my first word. I've seriously
I'm trying to push him to advance it in 21, but he's not coming. Second question is about बहुत सारे लोग जानते नहीं हैं हमारे दर्शकों में, मतलब कुछ लोगों को ख्याल होगा ये कि आपका जकरबर्ग से काफी क्लोज इंटरेक्शन रहा. जकरबर्ग की वाइफ के नाम पर जो इनिशिएटिव चलता है चैन जकरबर्ग, वो इनके इन्वेस्टर थे, यानी बहुत साल पहले. उसके बाद हालांकि वो अब शायद एग्जिट कर
No, they're still investors, all of them. Like they're still on the board.
Still there.
So, yeah, they came on board in 2016.
Okay, interesting. So I wanted to ask you this last question from my side. You know what is happening globally, and you know how now we are talking about big tech giants from US and the China problem. We are celebrating people like you. So like FANG, I have come up with a new acronym for you, which is POGO, like Pogo, which is Paytm, Oyo, Byju's, and Ola. I mean, the top 4 unicorns, and there could be many other acronyms. So how and when we are going to get that kind of scale? Because some tech global giants are dominating, and in many countries, 1 or 2 big conglomerates are coming and trying to become the very big player. And this is a market of winner takes all. And India is the country of thousands and millions of Byjus. So what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, see, like partially it's true, but compared to, if you're comparing it with a few, now there are a few large corporations, but compared to 20, 30 years, it's life. See, if you want to be, like, if you want to positively disrupt anyone or any sector, today it's a lot easier than before, because you just take a look at the top 500 companies and how much has changed in the last, because these technological changes have actually reduced the life of a company. It's very difficult to, if you don't innovate, and if you don't like disrupt your own business model, someone else will, right? So it has become a lot tougher to stay in the game. As I always tell that in politics and business, it's not about winning the game, right? It's all about staying in the game. Now, if you want to stay in the game, it's very important to like continuously innovate. So though I agree that there are large companies and some of them are like real monopolists, but I won't agree to the fact that it's not. You will find a lot more companies, like maybe like 10 years back, some of them were not even there at the scale, but over the next 10 years, you will find other companies coming. But today, becoming big is a lot easier than before. Like reaching the top is maybe easier, but coming down also is so easier. So the cycles are becoming faster.
Yes. One last question now, before we close, is a slightly lighter one. We say that you wear some blacks. You have got some 365 shades of black in your wardrobe.
No, I don't have. I just have 5 or 6 t-shirts. So when people,
no, but I'm saying everything is black. Any reason why you wear only a black t-shirt? Or
no, nothing like that. I normally don't think too much about. It's easy. Like if you are not wasting time for these kind of things, I simply, it's like something which fits me well. Like now, obviously I've started using like dark colors for the last many years. It's easy to tell someone to buy this shirt from this, and I don't need to even go for that. That way it helps, but I am not doing it to save that kind of time and all. I have enough time to do things I love. So don't write that, oh, I don't have time to go and buy a shirt. That's not the case. It's just that I don't give that much importance to it, to be very frank.
Fantastic. So thank you very much. And this was a fantastic talk, very revealing. And I must appreciate your being so honest and upfront, upright about every question, especially Sanjay ji, tried to ask you a few things which I thought you may not answer, but you were pretty upright and honest about that.
Thank you. I really enjoy the conversation. I hope I could have spoken a part of it in Hindi. Other than that, I hope I didn't disappoint. I didn't disappoint any of you or any of you.
No, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
And Sanjay ji, thank you very much, for taking out your time and joining us in
It is pleasure to be with you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.